Hi everybody, this is Gene from Design Theory. Today I've got another interview set up with one of our own content bloggers extraordinaires. Her name is Yvonne Barber. Yvonne, thanks for coming on today.
Absolutely, Gene.
We're going to talk a little bit about content, why it's important. Well, actually, she's going to talk more about it. I'm just going to listen because she's got a lot of really good points, and we've had these conversations between the two of us a lot within the clients that we, me and you service. And I think it's important to kind of talk about this with our audience to let them know some pointers that they could use for themselves and kind of understand a little bit more about what we do, what you do behind the scenes, and things like that. All right. So let's get right to this, right? So tell me, what are some important things that you express with clients about website content?
Well, there are actually several key points that I bring up, but these are probably my top two. Number one is you need to make sure that you capture your audience in a provocative way in the first 30 seconds. Whether this is via design imagery, written content, audio or video files, you need to capture their attention immediately. In particular, the actual placement of images and content is very important, which is why design is so critical to the success of any website. If you have a design that's too busy, oftentimes it will turn people off before they even read one word.
Yeah,
Likewise, if it's too basic and looks like you just threw some clip art up there, they may not take you seriously. So as the old adage goes, your first impression is always the lasting impression. So you want to make sure you come out of the gate strong.
That makes a lot of sense. Because I've kind of seen some sites before where, there isn't much focus on anything. It's like they think that, okay, let's just get a site up there, just throw some content, throw something, just to kind of put it up there, and they never do anything about it. And I just feel like it's such a disservice to their, to them and to their brand when they kind of treat it that way.
Absolutely, and a lot of businesses will just put something up there, and as you and I have dialogued about, it becomes stagnant. Kind of like in a, well, not the greatest example, but pond scum. It just kind of sits there. There's no movement, and so this is kind of what happens to the website, and as a result, I think it really limits you in your marketability. When companies do that. As you and I have discussed many times, you really need to have fresh content up there on a regular basis in order for people to know that your business is progressing and that your business is moving.
I agree.
One of the second points that I often make as well is, what is the content of your content? Right now, statistics show that the average U.S. adult reads at an 8th grade level, which obviously is not that high.
That's not high, yeah.
No, not at all. And that's obviously barring, significant continuing education efforts, going to school for secondary degrees, masters, doctorates, and that sort. But this has a really profound effect on a website's content and the sophistication of it. And so, you're with your readers, you have to always consider them, how to convey the most important information in an enjoyable but yet informative kind of way. So just remembering that the goal is to entice a person to inquire a little bit further about the product or service that you're offering and then potentially landing them as a client.
Okay. Do you think that sometimes it's good to kind of to monitor, not just monitor your website traffic, but kind of monitor or even ask your clients, how they feel about what they see on your website to make sure that you're kind of hitting the right, the target market that you're looking for, in terms of your content. So, for example, like you said, if average study shows that most content should be around or about the 8th grade reading level or comprehension level, then if you're some type of rocket science website. Should you be writing to rocket scientists, or should you be writing towards what most of your clients are looking to your website to read? So, like the type of client that comes to your website, maybe they are, on a extra, after college level, and they most of them want to be reading something at that level because that's the type of service that they're looking for.
Right.
Do you take the time to actually, talk with the client and find out things like that from them?
Absolutely. I think it's important. Through the content process, there should be continued dialogue that goes on between you and whoever the representative is that you're dealing with from that company. And I think it's really important to probably find some middle ground there. I mean, you want it to be as informative as possible. You want to speak from the level of being an expert, if you will, in your field. But at the same time, you don't want it to be too over the heads of the average day Joe. So I think there's a fine balance between dumbing it down, if you will, although I hate that term.
Yeah, it's tough to say.
And then elevating it certainly so that people, someone like myself would read it and go, I have no clue what these people are talking about.
Right.
No one should ever walk away from looking at your website and just be like, okay, I don't get any of that. There should be some facets that touch them on a certain intellectual level where they're like, okay, I may not understand everything about this, but I definitely have taken away some knowledge base from it.
Okay. Now, actually, we kind of touched into this before about why content is important. But
Right.
talk to us about, or actually explain, or rather, why blogging can have such a big impact on small businesses. Like, talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. To blog or not to blog?
Right.
That is the question. I recently wrote a blog that blah, blah, blog, where I indicate the importance of having a professional blog and how it's crucial if you really want to elevate your company to a worldwide presence. For most small businesses, the budget's just not there to do something of great magnitude in terms of your marketing strategies and efforts. And that's why blogging is so important, because it really taps you into a local and global business market by creating dialogue about your company website to literally an unlimited number of people for virtually free. So if you can get chatter going on about your business, then as you and I have discussed, you open the door to reach people in a very non-traditional way rather than some typical marketing strategies that would be employed just on a local basis.
Like the yellow pages or, the local newspaper or something like that.
Exactly. Local newspapers, local radio websites, if you can afford it, billboard ads, things like that. You have to understand that you're only touching those people in that particular sector, if you will. Whereas with blogging, once it goes out there, it's on the web. Now, unfortunately, it also gives people the opportunity to opine on your website, your business, what you're saying about your particular area of expertise. But at the same time, you're also creating dialogue with someone that you may not necessarily have access to by those other traditional marketing methods.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. That really does. I mean, I think that one of the things that, we've talked about this a lot, but one of the things that, I feel like is really important is it's a really good way for a small business, which really takes, if they want to do it on their own, sweat equity, or they can hire us to do it. But it's like, it gives them an opportunity to set themselves up to be the authority on their subject matter, So,
Yes.
I mean, if they're the best at coffee brewing, and it may be a grassroots effort where it's just, the mom and pop and 5 other people, but they're making the best coffee in this area or in a certain market. If they can get out there and talk about why it's so great, what people are saying about it, what advantages their coffee has over the major name brands and things like that, putting it out there, on a blog. I mean, you don't know where that could go. I mean, that could get retweeted on Twitter. It can get, posted out on Facebook. It can get on Stumbled Upon. It can get on Dig. It's like, and it gets indexed obviously through Google. I mean, there's like so many, ways, like you said, worldwide almost, where people can kind of understand or find out who you are, even though you're just in one small market, and they could be, a potential client for you. So, it's not something that people should think of as a limited factor to say, well, I've only got 20 or so clients, and they're all right here in this city. Don't limit yourself to that, right?
Right, absolutely. And thinking about it in the context of even like throwing a rock in the pond, right? It's one rock. But once you throw it in the pond, it has massive ripple effect. So it's kind of the same way in terms of that with blogging, where you think, I'm just putting this blog out there and like, that's it. It's just my opinion. But then it can reach an astounding number of people. So think about those ringlets going out and spreading very wide, wider than a person can conceive when they throw that rock into the pond.
Nice. That's a really good analogy.
Thank you.
I hope this gets rewound, run that part back, listen to it again. That was a good one. So I mean, aside of blogging, I mean, does your writing content stop at that? You know, with websites as well, or do you do marketing material as well, or can you offer that? What other things do you write?
Right, absolutely. And I think anyone who considers himself a copy or a content writer should. And here's part of the reason why. A website is your face to the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least on the World Wide Web. But what happens if you pay to create, a client has paid you to create this great website, full of the bells and whistles, and this thing is like gorgeous, and then a prospective client asks to receive marketing materials, or what we might call in the industry a media kit or marketing kit. If your marketing materials are not presented at the same level that you have put into your website, you can miss out on some really big opportunities. Okay. So you want them to work synergistically almost. I think of it as like going to a car dealership, right? And you go in and you're like, you see this beautiful Jaguar and you're like, yeah, I want that car. And it looks great and flashy. And you're walking away like, yeah, I'm the man. But once you start driving it, you find out it's really a jalopy in a Jaguar body.
Right.
And this is where branding comes into play. Your brand is your business identity, and it's not just your website. It's everything that encompasses your business. Mm-hmm. And those things are conveyed to the world. So whether it's your business cards, letterhead, brochures, and your website, they should all have this contiguous, cohesive theme so that if you do present them separately, they still work together synergistically, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
like they're all saying the same thing.
Exactly. And they shouldn't look, you don't want them too cookie cutter. You want a little bit of diversity in there, but at the same time, you don't want something where you have this business card that looks completely different logo, different typeface, different everything from your website. They should really just build upon one another and complement one another.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I've seen some materials to where, a website looks one way and a trifold looks completely different. From the graphics that are on there, from the pictures that are on there, the colors, and like you said, font. Font is a really good one because a lot of people don't really pay attention to, the font names that they use for certain different types of media, right? So like your website could have one font, your logo has a different font, and then your print media could have a different font again. And it's like, why is all this, going on? Like, why can't it all look the same? I mean, if you look at the major name brands, they pretty much focus on this is, like when you see Facebook, when you see the Facebook F from Facebook spelled out, if you were to see anything that look close to that, the first thing that would come to your mind would say, that looks like Facebook. Because I'm used to that F, or I'm used to the way that the A is, is shaped or whatever. That's their font. They've kind of branded that font into their name. And so they can do that. And I think that some people, may miss that in thinking that it's an insignificant key to their overall brand.
Mm-hmm. No, that's very true. And that's the great thing about when you look at some major brands like Coca-Cola, for instance, or Toyota, whatever, you can recognize that brand pretty much anywhere, sometimes by the lettering, even by the curvature of a particular font. And I think that's a great example about Facebook because that's true. Whenever you see that F, your mind automatically goes to, that's Facebook.
Right.
So I think it's very important to have that brand identity and to carry it across all of your marketing platforms.
Good point.
So that when someone's out or they're requesting certain materials or they see the same company name out, they will automatically recognize and be like, that's, for us, Design Theory. That's DT. Okay, yeah, I know them, kind of thing. And that's what you want. You want brand recognition. Whether it's spelled out and, even if your address isn't there and it should still always look and feel like whatever your company is, whatever that brand identity is, you need to stay true to that across all forums.
I agree. Now, speaking about how you work with clients, and I know you could probably attest to this, especially with some of the recent clients that we've had. But I mean, how involved do you get with the client, with their industry, with their products and services? Like, how involved is a really good content writer or copywriter, and how involved do you get with the client, from start to finish?
Right. Well, whenever I take on a new client and you and I reach this, particular issue not too long ago with a client where, you just don't have a lot of information about what that client does. You may not even have a full understanding of their business in a particular field that you've never encountered before. So, I think the most important part is the research, in terms of a particular industry. That's why a good content writer or a blogger kind of assumes the identity of an employee or an advocate for that business. You have to do your research. You have to do your homework so that you start to write from a level of almost expertise in that particular field rather than, sitting back and saying, oh my gosh, I don't know anything about this, and I don't want to take on that client. Like, you can't take that perspective. You have to just get in there, dig your heels in, do your research, figure out a little bit more about their industry, what their competitors are saying about the particular industry, and then write from that standpoint. You really kind of have to write like you're living it, like you're an employee there, like you know all about it.
Okay.
But the crux of that comes with the research, and that's, I think, one of the most important things as a content writer. And it's very crucial to your body of work that you're able to diversify yourself among all these different areas. So whether I'm doing something for an alarm systems company, or I'm doing something for a church, or I'm doing something for someone in tax, or, international mergers and acquisitions, no matter what it is, you have to be flexible in that, in your ability to take on a project, but most importantly, so that your client feels like when they have that end product, whether it's a website or it's marketing materials, like, wow, this was great. She didn't know anything about my business, but by the end, they're looking at you like, I think I want you to come work for my business because you seem to know a lot more than I would have assumed. And that's the kind of lasting impression you want to have.
Yes. And we actually, that, like you said, that just happened, where somebody actually did, ask you to get hired. And I was like, nope, you're on our team. But no, I mean, I think it's flattering, though, to do such a well enough job to where, a client is going to say, wow, that I didn't think about that, or that's a great point, or this is great to add. I didn't think that we can add that, or we can put those two together, or, seeing these inconsistencies in marketing materials or whatnot, like you say. I think that that's great. I know not all design companies do that, and I think that that's one of the things that for us, and I don't mean to toot our own horn but we do, a little bit, right? I mean, we do, we, like you said, we do get involved, with the business. We do a lot of different facets other than just creating a website. We can create your logos. We can create, a fantastic website. We can help you understand how to blog, teach you how to use it, write some great content for you, do some marketing materials for you, manage your social media for you, get you set up. I mean, it's like all these things that really all still come together, towards the business, but still have, an arm or a leg coming from the website. I mean, if you're going to have a site, you're going to want to have great content, because if someone comes on your website, usually you have about 7 seconds. They come on your website. If it doesn't make sense to them, they can't read it. It's not what they were looking for. It doesn't look like what they were looking for. They're gone. And they're going to go to somebody else. And so if it's not compelling, if it doesn't attract them, if it doesn't speak to what they're looking for, they're not gonna stay. And that's a loss of a lead. That's a loss of a sale. That's a loss of a client. And so understanding what they do, the business's, personality, what makes them different from your competitors, regardless if their competitor is, 500 times bigger than they are, still there's something about them that's significant that made them come into business. They have something to offer to the marketplace. And that's what, that's what you do. You get involved, like you say, dig your heels in, and it's like, all right, I'm putting on this hat as, this person or as that person, and let's go. We're going to write great content based on that, as if I was you. So I think that's great.
Absolutely. And I think that that's one of the great things, I have to say about us is we really do offer a full service. It's not just in one particular area, and we don't limit ourselves in that regard. If somebody comes to us and asks us about a website, okay, that's great. Yes, we can do your website. But then we always take it a step further to say, okay, well, what other marketing materials do you have? What else are you putting out there? Not just in the sense of trying to acquire the business, but just to even make sure that their brand identity is seamless, you know, and I don't know that a lot of people do that out there. You know, maybe some of the bigger outfits, you know, that have, you know, 100 employees, which
Right.
we're not yet.
Right, not yet.
But
Right.
yet, I
Right.
stress the yet.
Right.
But I think that that's something great, that even in my own professional experience before I came onto DT, that I didn't really find in a small business. So, you know, I can honestly attribute that to you, of having that level of vision, that you're not limiting yourself in just one particular lane of the highway. You're all the way across. You're looking all the way to the left and all the way to the right. And I think that our clients really enjoy that, and I think they definitely respect it, and I think that's why we have the clientele that we do.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. All right, so I mean, this has all been great, but I got one more question for you.
Okay.
You know, if you could speak to this, like, what would be one piece of advice to a business about how vital content is, and what would that be?
Ooh. Okay. Let's see. Act like you're using your marketing materials to pitch a deal in front of Donald Trump.
Ah.
I think,
You're fired.
I know.
That's so much stress.
Hopefully not.
That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's like,
You're fired, right? No, but I think that if you create with this standard of excellence and you carry it through to all of your materials, that you would eventually get the opportunity to pitch someone on that business level. You know, I think sometimes, especially when you're dealing with small businesses, they only see themselves in one dimension. And it's usually sometimes pretty limiting. I mean, people still have big dreams, but I think, you know, we're so worried about working within our reality that we set our goals sometimes too low. And I think you would be surprised. I've seen over my professional career people who have gone with the smaller outfit because of the level of business or because they pitch better. You know, when I was working for a particular company in the RFP department, we used to rival some of the big insurance companies, and we were just a small little outfit, but I would like to think that that was in part of the way that we marketed ourselves and the level of our content of our materials, that people were kind of going, maybe we should give them a shot. Maybe we should take another look at them, as opposed to just, you know, the big, well-known name brand kind of other entities that were out there.
Okay.
So I think, you know, for me, in my particular area, content is so important. The level of your content, the clarity of your content, as well as, you know, its ability to capture and enthrall a reader so that they desire to learn more, know more, and hopefully give you their business.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great advice, Yvonne. Really happy with that.
Thank you.
This has been, I mean, it's enlightening to talk about it, but, you know, this is the type of thing that, you know, we kind of, or, you know, either you or me or together, we kind of talk about together with our clients. And it's kind of just good to put out there so that way, you know, everybody can kind of understand a little bit more about us and what kind of makes us tick, and, you know, and how we do business and what we think, you know, what we think is important. So I hope that they, you know, the people that watch it, you at home, hopefully you love it. Share it with your friends. But again, this is Gene from Design Theory, and this is Yvonne Barber.
Hello.
And you know, she's part of the team as well. You can definitely check us out at www.jpDesignTheory.com. And if you have any questions, give us a call, 888-603-1090. And until then, thanks for being on.
All right. Thanks a lot, Gene.
All right.
Bye-bye.
And we're good.